do not know what Parramatta did so wrong to annoy Bogan, but there you go, ladies and gentlemen. An intro to BJonGameDay, unlike no other. Parramatta with the biggest upset against them of the year. The Tigers getting up. But before we get anywhere near there, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host for this evening, Adrian Delaney. Ados, welcome, buddy. Welcome back to the BJonGameDay show.
Thanks, mate. It's an honour to fill in. I know it's for not the greatest feelings around and good reason, but it's good to be here and chat.
Mate, absolutely. So, mate, wow, Parramatta, what an upset we saw on the Monday, I guess, on the final game of the weekend. I did put in one of the chats, I thought the Tigers would get up by 14. I just had this sneaky feeling that they were going to put in a little bit more. It definitely did take the Eels to play some pretty poor football. Expansive they were. The Eels actually looked great, but I think most of the coaching staff and the players in the after interviews looked at it completely correctly, and that was that they just tried to do too much too quickly. They really tried to push it too hard. This was just simply one of those things where you could probably sort of, if the Eels had been a little bit smarter with their football, a little bit more patient. I think the Tigers played as good as they could, and that definitely got them the win. But anything else, they might have gone down. But woulda, coulda, shoulda. Mate, a very, very good game to end the round. How did you go last week, Adro? Mate, obviously a big thing we see from last week, Nathan Cleary going massive, and anyone who sort of captained him, mate, probably something to sort of rule over everyone else.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, the reason why people would have started with Cleary one game on his first game or his second game was because you were hoping for him to go massive. And those first two scores were shithouse, and everyone was like, yes, 200 BE, we're going to get him for 100K cheaper. But he struck just at the right time for those people that brought him in early, didn't he? And you deserve that because you got the balls to go with him. And I thought about doing it last week, but I needed to save some trades, so I didn't do it. And sure enough, there's a 150 with a little sprinkling of unicorn points in there for Cleary. I thought he might have, got some extras in that game. But
turkey, please.
Yeah, get into it. Sponsor him. But yeah, it was a ripping score, and everybody's going to be faced with him this week. You can't even wait another week. He's got an 80-something BE. And he's up against the Raiders at home.
It's this week,
the,
or it's
Panthers.
not really at all, is it?
No, well, at least not till after Origin. So, at least those people that got him early had got the 150 last week and, looped or straight captained him.
So 11.28 for the week, mate. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, it's my first Red Arrows of the year. I started off, where was I, 7,000 or 8,000 or something like that, and I've progressively worked up every week. This week I saw my first Green Arrows. It was 400 spots, but I didn't trade, so I wasn't aggressive with the trades. I sat Haas last week as well, so I was kind of like, if I can get around par and not get burnt too much, I'd captain Dillbags. And he got a 70-odd. Most of the captains outside of Cook and Cleary were all about the same score. So I was close enough to par, but I want to move up the ladder. So I've got to start making some aggressive moves and get in captainable options, because captains is hard.
I think it's always disappointing that first time of the season where you get red arrows. You know what I mean? Like we always want to be trending upwards. And we know that, the general pattern of how you sort of get to the front and get to that number one spot, you've got to start further back. No one really holds it from the start of the year. So, look, it's something that we can see our teams develop week in, week out. But, when you just miss that mark on one or two players, whether it's not bringing someone in, whether it's that you would have or could have, or that you simply just didn't rate them and you got told wrong, it is that little bit harder just to see those red arrows. But, mate, talk about bouncing back this week. What's on the plans? What's looking into the future for your team?
Well, I think the big decision everyone's going to be faced with this week is Teddy done? Is he done this year? Because he looks old and slow. I'm going to be selling Teddy, and I'm going to be bringing in Cleary, and I want to captain him because I think it's a good matchup for him as well. It's a week later than those people, and it's not for the saving that we hoped to get, but I'm going to punt him. I think Taff has emerged as a pretty reasonable cheapie. 60 odd last week. He looked like he handled the ball pretty well. He's 200K. So you get a nice saving, from Teddy. And I'm going to pull the trigger and get in Cleary, who I think is a standout sort of captain option. I know it was 250s in a row, but that's the thing. That's a terrible score from him, and he was only warming up. I can't see him not sort of getting 100 points a game.
Mate,
he looked
I'd agree.
Sensational last week. So
I mean, he's in a team where he's basically going to get given 20 points a game, Supercoach-wise for goal kicking. This team will put points on any team, even the good side. So he's so Supercoach friendly, Nathan Cleary. I said last week to a mate, obviously I wasn't on the show, we'll talk about that shortly, but I said last week to a mate how basically defensively it looked like he'd given up 10 points. Because of the shoulder and because of coming back from that surgery, I didn't think he put in 100% so far with defensive efforts. And I think maybe a missed tackle here or there extra would have sort of cost him 10 points. But the attacking side is just so brutal. The attacking side is just ridiculous. And how he looked last week, just his confidence in it didn't matter what was in front of him. He was looking to create. He was looking to create for himself, for his inside or outside players. Mate, you got to have him. You really do. I haven't gone the Teddy route. I thought about that actually on the weekend before sort of lockout finish was Teddy away, and I just couldn't do it. I really couldn't do it. I thought there's got to be another way. So it's sort of I've gotten rid of a couple of sort of cash grabbers. Bo Firma, since he had COVID, a little bit sort of lacking in form. He's got a break even this week of 80. 499,000. I think he's just peaked for now. I know he plays round 13, and that's a little bit of an issue, but not wanting to sort of get rid of someone there. But I think I need to take advantage of the cash with what it'll sort of turn my team into. So Bowie's going to head out. I'm going to get rid of my namesake, Joshy King. Look, he's been fantastic the first 6 weeks of the season. Really, really happy with what he's done. Again, I think he's peaked sort of somewhere around that 465K. So I'm looking at moving him on as well. And then Schneider also. So last week I did a little bit of a very unusual thing, and I'm kicking myself. But what it did do was get me 160K in the bank. I won't even say what that is because I'm a little bit ashamed of what I did, especially after Lucy Leilua scored in the fucking 10th minute. But anyway, I'm going to look at those three players, 160K I had in the bank, and I'm going to bring in Nathan Cleary via some cash cows rather than getting rid of Teddy.
And obviously you'll be using a boost to bring in Cardi, right?
Correct. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, last week, whether acceptable or not, I had some deep crisis Wi-Fi issues. And unfortunately, I couldn't make an appearance on the show last week. Now, Bogan, can you remind everyone of... I
believe the bet was if you didn't show up for a show, you had to bring Cardi into your team. Now, it wasn't specified whether you had to start him or put him on the bench or whether he just sat there like enough for the rest of the season. But I think you need to start him at least once.
The positive side of all this is that 2 weeks ago, Cardi threw one of the most unbelievable passes I think anyone has ever seen on a football field. It was fantastic, and it was Cardi of old. Unfortunately, Cardi of old is about 1% of what we see every week from Bryce Cartwright, on or off the field. Now, whether it may be on the training paddock, I don't think he's got anywhere near as much as ability as he used to.
I'm gonna do up a poll.
That's it. Alongside my Nathan Cleary bring in were two other players. One of them, and purely before team list today, was what's Cooler's first name? Can't remember his first name. But I hadn't had Cooler in yet, and I saw him there with a nice negative break even. Unfortunately, he hasn't held his spot. The other player that I was going to get in, I think costs in the very, very high 300s. and that's Dylan Walker. Now, I'm pretty sure I actually had the cash to bring in Bryce Cartwright if I had to. So it would be at the expense of Dylan Walker. I just like what Dill's doing off the bench for the Manly. I think he looks really good. But that aside, that would be my ideal pick considering my trade options. Now, if the poll goes out and the vote comes back and it says, Joshy boy, you've got Bryce Cartwright, well, I will adhere to the laws of social media. Mate, like I say, 50 metres down the road from mine is a small little roundabout. Goes through a one-lane street either way with a cross-section. Mate, I was sat in the green patch, the green grass in the middle of the roundabout just to get reception on my phone. So, anyway, it is what it is. We'll leave it up to the poll, mate. Whether rightly or wrongly I could or couldn't get on, we will leave it up to the poll.
What are you ranked overall this year so far?
1,508, mate.
It feels so mean to make you do it because you're in ripping good shape and you haven't made heaps of trades either.
I've been in sensational, Pedro. I have been in really, really good Supercoach form. I'm quietly confident sitting here that every single league I'm going to win, whether it's head-to-head, whether it's overall, I'm sitting here very confidently with a great buy strategy, with a great strategy from buy one to buy two, and with an absolutely sensational team right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it does feel like taking Bryce Cartwright would take me slightly backwards in that plan. Cunt doesn't even play round 13.
You're getting hammered in this poll.
It
looks like
as sympathetic as we both, me and Ados are to you, King. The chat is not sympathetic at all.
Look, I haven't had a look in the live chat just yet. Oh Jesus!
We'll leave it up. We'll leave it up, and we'll end it at the end of the show. We'll see how it goes. All
right. But anyway, we will talk about that. Let's get on to the games from last week. Starting off mate, this is just cruel bogan to bring this one up first. I know we can't take the week, mate, but
because it was around Easter, it cost me as much as my trip to Fiji upcoming. It cost me a fortune to go down there to watch the Faders, ruin my bloody weekend. It was nice to go to a game with.
Part of coming from Canberra, mate, is having to fucking pay for flights every time you go there.
It's crazy.
Any other city, capital city in Australia, it costs you $80 or $90.
Yeah,
to go to Canberra, it's minimum $250 each way.
It gives me the shits. And every time I take the missus there for games, she makes me go to Hotel Realm, which is a bloody expensive hotel as well. But it was nice to go to the game with Brent and sink some beers and have a laugh. And we went live while everything was going good. And then the Raiders fell away. Game there by Starling. I know a lot of people took a punt on him in their hooker position, and he's been sort of a bit iffy. And he played well.
Starling.
Yeah, Cando, his biggest fan.
Yeah. And so he's finally, he's 30, he's 30 or 80, and you got an 80 this week. I thought live, Tamalolo looked outstanding. He played big minutes, and live at the game, he looked sensational. I think he played 60 straight and then went off for a couple of minutes, and he was back on from what I could see from the seats. And I think Lolo, he's back now, isn't he? I mean, I think he's going to be 70s average again from now.
I can't take you wrong, mate. I can't tell you you're wrong. I'm really impressed with what I've seen. That just getting more involved in the centre there. It's amazing how it sort of changed it. So, yeah, from a Supercoach point of view, mate, I haven't had him. I definitely had him on my radar, but I thought once he sort of started off those first couple of rounds slow, I thought, all right, I've done the right thing here. But, mate, the last couple of weeks have said anything but.
Yeah, he seems to be picking it up. I know a lot of people are bringing in Lukey. He looked great on the field. He's starting again this week.
Yeah.
People were hoping for him to start the year, but it obviously didn't come about because he was on the bench. I think he's quite affordable, and he's got that 90 now.
What's he at, mate?
Oh, what's he at? I think he's in the 300s, isn't he, or something like that? Lukey, he's big, that big, tall, rangy one.
347K, yeah, look, I mean, Lovely little score there on the weekend. Whether he can back that up, but mate, what I think the Cowboys, their performances are feeding off these guys, the Lukies, the Gilberts, the Neems, the Nanais. Like, there's just that youthful exuberance that they sort of haven't had for a while. And you know, you add that to old heads like Lolo and Holmes. Cowboys are starting to actually look half decent. And from a Supercoach point of view, it's just trying to pick which one of those 3 or 4 guys each week it's going to be. You know, it seems like they're taking turns so far, which has been the hardest part. But yeah, I don't see you losing either way, whichever one of these young lads you go at back row.
And how do you reckon? I reckon Bell's taken to centre really well. I think he's looking really good in centre.
Mate, I didn't think he would. I didn't think he'd have the scoring base there to factor into Supercoach. There was 2 of the drafts that I had him here. Sorry, one of the drafts that I had him in that was a keeper league that I traded him out of. And another draft where he sort of went really late that I just passed on him still. You know, I went someone else. So, mate, just like a duck to water, he's looking brilliant in the centre spot, and you know,
and he's roaming
involved.
Yeah, I think he's been good. I never thought it would be the case, but he's been good. Now the Raiders stink. I mean, one of the biggest things that was my deciding point for bringing in Cleary, he's got an 80s BE at home against this Raiders outfit. I can't see anything but a ton from Cleary this week because the Raiders, mate, they're done. They're done this year.
No, fair enough. First game on the Friday night there, Bogues. We had the Bunnies get over the Dogs. Look, this just was all really about, I think, there was 10 minutes there where everything sort of changed. The Dogs started off well. They were sort of holding it to them. And then, who got sin-binned again? Oh, Marshall King.
Jeremy Marshall King.
Yeah. That 10 minutes before halftime, the Rabbitohs put in 3 tries while he was off the field, and the Dogs never really got it back after that. Damien Cook, 2 tries out of the first 3, I think it was. Is Cookie back, mate? Is Cookie back?
Oh, I tell you what, I mean, for everything that Cody Walker isn't this year, Cook looks it, doesn't he? He's running. He's taken it's like he's taken the team on his shoulders. He's taken responsibility. I mean, he's looking sensational. I know that Kando's go on the double gun hooker with Grant and Cook.
Huge right now.
I've always liked Cook because he's a hooker that can go tons.
And he's went mid-1200s last week and didn't have Cleary. Like, you know, that's a solid score, and it's due to sort of calls like that, having both these lads. So, you know, a lot of people are doubled up in certain positions, maybe half, maybe fullback, definitely fullback. It was a pod move to do it at hooker.
Yeah, and if it's one of those 2 players, I really get it. And he has been sensational. The run is still good for the Rabbitohs, and he was on fire in that game. They were pretty good, some of the usual suspects. It's good to see AJ get a good score in there as well. They got him some ball. I wonder what his price is. I don't even know. But he's someone that you could probably grab if he's bottomed out.
It's that Addo-Carr effect. It's that AJ's probably been a little bit more consistent, a little bit more powerful over the years, but there's just that 3 or 4 games in a row where he seems to score a double each game or throw in a hat trick here or there. And there's 80s or 100s or 130s, 140s that just chain together. See him get up to that sort of 700 or 750 and then just slowly wilt away and then maybe build back up, you know. Like, it's so hard with these centre wingers, especially when you don't want to spend cash there to get that golden 3 or 4 game run, mate, in Supercoach.
Yeah, and you want him in the 400s. I think he's still over 500K, so it's a bit too expensive. Cody Walker, 44 points, and he's under 500K now. What's going on? What's going on with Cody Walker?
I tell you what, I started the season with him, mate. 1 game was enough for me to watch. Actually, I think it was 2 games. But anyway, same. Mate, I had to get rid of him. I went to Munster. Best decision I've done. He is just lazy. He is just lost. He is just pathetic on the football field at the moment. People are talking about bringing him in, and you know, I know the last week or 2 there's certain Super coaches who have just stay away from him, guys. Like, yes, there's going to be a time where he throws in an 80 or a 90, but everyone's doing that. I cannot see his form change now and bounce back with 140 plus score like we're scared of. Like he will get that 70 or 80 a couple of weeks in a row before he throws in a 140. He doesn't have it in him at the moment.
Yeah, it's just so weird. Averaging 30s after being nearly 90 last year. I mean, we knew that A-Ray would affect the team, but I just can't believe it. It's such a fall from grace for Supercoach. And even their left side doesn't. I mean, they started to get a little bit of fluency left last week, but I don't know. I mean, is he worth a punt in the 400s? You could downgrade Schneider if you've got the jewels and go to Cody Walker. The other one that pissed me off was Ilias in this game. I played him because I got lured into that 50 score from him, and I've played him 2 times for 20s since then. I'm getting rid of the bastard this week, but I don't think he's got a Supercoach friendly game, so
Mate, look,
I don't see any reason.
He's going to be that annoying little cunt that's stuck there at the end for me. He's going to get to the end of 25 rounds for me.
And he'll be 300.
Like I say, I've gone Cleary this week. I've got Nico and Cleary in the halves, and I've got Munster at 5'8" now. So it's just it seems that every single year you can't quite get to 4 gun halves. Like you always go the gun fullbacks first, and then build up your centre wings, and it just seems that those 4 spots never quite get filled with 4 guns. And I just feel like I'm going to get stuck with Ilias till the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I jumped off Schneider first. You would have been much better to hold Schneider. He was obviously halfback only, but Ilias is a bum for Supercoach, unfortunately. That's pretty much it. Nothing over the other side. I mean, Thompson's churned out a couple of good scores in a row. Jackson.
Quick shout about Thompson. I think he's about 500K. Maybe he just hit 500. I don't mind Thompson. He was actually, depending on, so what was I originally going to do? If I had have gotten rid of Teddy and then used a couple of other trades, whatever they may have been, I would have brought in Thompson alongside Cleary. Cleary, that would have been the combination. I've instead got rid of a few cash cows, but if I had have got rid of Teddy, Thompson would have been the upgrade in the front row that I would have gone to from one of the lads. So I like him, mate. I think there's a time of the year where this guy starts to perform, but he's got that longevity throughout the season where he holds those numbers. I think in past seasons we've seen it in maybe rounds like 13, 14, 15. I think that he started that so early in the season, mate. I reckon this guy can have a huge year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he'd be definitely a pod because he's got high ownership, 2%. Yep. So, yeah.
Very good. Next game, Bogues, what do we got? Mate, look, obviously we spoke about this game earlier. Stags, wow, 2 massive weeks in a row. Huge performance from him. Anyone who held the faith and held on to him, very, very well done. Whether it was through not being able to trade because you're trying to get other people in, or whether it was out of faith, either way, you still get the points. It doesn't matter what happens there. But, look, I never started with him. I'm glad I wasn't on the train ride. He would have made me even more fucking anxious about this game.
Well, a lot of people who sold him because he was shit. Now he's got 200s. They were asking me questions. Should I bring Stags back in? And I was like, knowing Supercoach, you got all these 30s and you sold him. You missed his 100s, and you'll bring him back in this week and you'll score a 30. That's the way Supercoach works.
Look, obviously Stags is never going to kick again with Reynolds in this team, but I did look at this guy at the start of the season and think once he got on that run, I didn't think he'd stop. I know we speak about like the Joey Manu effect, which is the 20-20-20, 100, 20-20-20, or whatever it may be. I think Stags, that once he finds his form, can maintain it a little bit better because I think he is a genuine target for the Broncos in attack. I think Joey Manu pops up on the field wherever the fuck he likes. Whereas Stags is a genuine attack on that right side that the Broncos are going to go to every week. So,
yeah, it seems like the penny might have dropped with the Broncos. It feels like that last week they were getting him the ball early. And they've done that for the last couple of weeks, and it's no coincidence that he scored well. I think maybe he won't score hundreds every week, but I don't think he's going to go back and look lethargic like he did in those initial rounds. I think he's flipped the go switch. Nathan Cleary. He got some unicorns. He got unicorns in there.
Did he? Did he really? Like,
he did. There was like a line break assist, line break something. There was some that were. It was very iffy.
Call it 20 points worth of unicorn points, whatever you like. Whatever happens, mate. That game was impressive from Cleary. Like he looked the goods, mate. If you needed a sign to say that this bloke is the best half in the game, after what he had with his shoulder, he had 2 very average games, still scored 50. He had a game where he basically hit 80% of his potential and he's rolled out a 151. This guy has got more tons than anyone in his arsenal, especially with Turbo out long term. Mate, you've got to have this guy on your team.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where we were hoping he'd have a loser price. Yeah, he had a 200 BE. We're hoping his price would go down nicely and he'd still be up against an enormous BE. His BE is achievable this week in 88. You got to get.
He could throw in another 150, mate, and all of a sudden he's gone back up to 50K that everyone thought, I'll wait again, or This guy's the anti-Turbo. We were all sort of scared of Turbo and we stayed away from him. Some people didn't. Turbo, returned as we sort of expected with some average scores and the price change. That was 1.25 million. That wasn't 950,000. So, look, he wasn't as much to be scared about. You either started with him, you either moved him in early or you didn't. But either way now, if you did or didn't have it, you've got to have this guy. So, yeah, get him in there.
Yeah. 10% so far this week on trade-ins. So people are doing it, and I think it's a smart move. Yo and Martin, they were popular ones to start the year. It looks like you've got him, Bogues, in there. He's been scoring pretty well, Yo. I know he's racking up Dally M points. Oh, nice draft. Yeah, but Liam Martin churned out a good one as well for those that have held him. I
think he annoys me more than any other player in the NRL, Liam Martin. Yeah. He just doesn't look like a footballer. He just doesn't look like an athletic being. He's fucking weird and short and gangly, and I just don't know how this bloke can play football, but he knows how to tackle. He knows how to find the line. He is a decent hole runner. With the ball. Yeah, as much as he doesn't look like a footballer, he scores on Supercoach pretty well. I know a lot of people talked about him at the start of the season. Probably didn't cash grab as big as some others, but there's potential there, that's for sure. And, mate, Isaiah, wow.
One hell of a
I want to go back 3 or 4 years with this guy, and I remember watching a game once against Cronulla, and Isaiah moved from the second row, due to injuries, went out to the centres, and he destroyed Cronulla this day, right? He really did. And the pace that he showed that day, I thought, this is the fastest second row that I've ever seen. Like, he looked so quick over the ground for a second row. Fast forward 3 or 4 years, and now the work that this guy does in the middle of the park as a lock is just sensational. This guy has got it all. I think I love the fact that he's in front in the Dally M. I love the fact that there's a hard-working bloke who probably doesn't get massive recognition. And, he's leading that count, and rightly so. He has been just sensational week in, week out for the Panthers. He is just, maybe not just as important as Cleary, but, heck, he's more important than anyone else in the team after that.
Yeah, I bet you if you ask Cleary who's the most important, not answering yourself, he'd answer Yo. And I think, there's a lot of questions over who's the best lock in the game. This year, he's definitely stood out to be the best lock in the game for mine. In today's modern game.
He's got it all. Like, sorry to interrupt, mate, but like you see a lot of the teams, whether they take a ball playing, lock, or they take a Nelson Asafa Solomona type lock, right, where it's just brute, another prop basically. He has both games. Isaiah Yo can truck the ball forward better than any other prop that he goes up against, like he has that slight step at the line, everything like that. You're going to get 8 or 10 meters out of him every time. But if you need a second row, if you need a lock to jam into the line to create that extra man on the outside, he does it as good as any other half that there is. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's got such a great pass on him, compared to like a Murray type. Targo and May probably not there. I VC'd May thinking he might get, a bag of tries. It was a milder score for them, but still very acceptable. And Targo, it wasn't. I think that might be nearly his worst score of the year, the 53. But I think they're both still showing, that you'd hold them and play them comfortably every week.
Potential out of both of them, really, mate. So for me, they're a hold still. I'm hoping to get another 2 weeks out of both of them. I think May is a long-term hold just because of how the Panthers can go. I still think Targo, we're probably going to see the occasional center score that we're used to with everyone else. Like I don't think there's any centers in the game that establish themselves as a full 25 round. Sort of pick. Generally, your wingers are sort of the more reliable with those sort of try scoring opportunities. But May I think will be almost a hold to the end of the year.
Yeah, I think when To'o comes back, I can't see Stain surviving. I think To'o's traditionally been playing on the right next to Crichton, and I think that edge with Targo and May looks sensational.
Mate. I don't. But it's been really good to see Charlie Staines actually have a crack running from in those first 1 or 2 runs after a kick. He has developed. He has learned. He's not just that guy who finished off a play anymore. He's trying to get in and do that sort of dirty stuff as well. So good on
him. Yeah, he's not as much of a lightweight, so he's not getting bumbled over the sideline as much this year. He's had a much improved year. Sure. I reckon at least 50% better than last year.
Next game, Bogues, we've taken a long while between these games, so let's go to the Saturday game.
I'll be quiet in this one, and you can just go through fast.
All right, Manly over the Titans, 26-18. Tale of two halves really here. Manly kicked out early on. Olakatu. Hang on, Ado. I don't need you to be quiet. Make some noise here. Olakatu, what happened with the injury? I didn't catch what's going on here because I was sort of dirty. Last week, I actually thought about bringing him in. How I mentioned the Leilua trade. I was going to do a sideways trade just because I liked how good this guy looked. I didn't end up doing that. I went a cheapie. But anyway, what happened?
I don't know. I must have missed it. I think he came back on, didn't he?
He came back on, but I still think there was something there that maybe – I know he's obviously named this week.
Well, someone in the chat tell us what happened to him because I own him.
Right. Yeah.
And I was happy with his score. And I did notice he went down, but I don't know what it even was.
I tell you what, mate, DFF. David Fafita. Actually, before I go into my love obsession with David Fafita, ladies and gentlemen, everyone and anyone who watches or views us on YouTube, please tell your Facebook compatriots to learn how to fucking spell this bloke's name right. Because it just fucking gets on my nerve when blokes spell it with an A where the fucking first I is like, seriously.
Oh, Fafita.
Fafita. And it annoys the fuck out of me. But anyway, there's a little rant for the day.
Great.
Half the time
now I'm going to have to edit every fucking screenshot I do for the rest of the year now.
Don't do it. Don't put it up, Bo.
Don't do it.
But, mate, yeah, David Fafita, wow, what a performance. Very, very happy that I've owned him since the start.
I sold the bum. I sold him.
Yeah. Oh, look, mate, yeah. You can look back at it now and say maybe it was a mistake, but a lot of people were doing the sort of same trend. He hasn't gone up massively in cash. He's made sort of about 120 grand compared to what he sort of dropped to. So,
he's back to sort of his starting price.
He's not a massive reach compared to a Cleary and things like that. So he's still gettable.
Yeah, I held Hamole instead, who's still scoring very well. So I don't feel so bad about it. But, it just goes to show that sometimes, even with Stags, some players just have a real sort of slow start to the year and then they warm up. And even their team sort of gets used to how the best way to, get him ball and stuff. So the last 2 weeks he's looked better.
I'll tell you one player I'm looking at coming into Origin time and always at some stage is Brian Kelly. Big fan of Brian Kelly, and I think that leading into Origin, He's never someone looks at. He can perform quite well. I love the strength of him for such a small bloke, and I think from a Supercoach point of view, come round 13, he will be an asset. I just want to see that price sort of drop down. I'm hoping we can get a 30 or a 40 or two out of him over the next week or two, and then I'll be jumping on board.
Yeah, I like him too. I like Marju in there as well, and I'll probably keep my eye out in the lead up to round 13 and maybe jump on one of them.
Next game on the Friday night, Saturday night, sorry. Oh, look, fuck, what a game. What a game. Yeah, obviously there's the two games on the Saturday with the extra game on Easter Monday. Honestly, as a Sharkies fan, I couldn't have asked for anything more from this team. They took it to Melbourne. They simply beaten by a better team. They were simply beaten by a team with a little bit more class and a little bit more experience. But, right up until probably the last 10, 15 minutes, this was up for grabs. Talakai on the left-hand side was just absolutely amazing. Munster on the same respective side for Melbourne was just sensational. Mulatalo, obviously a big cash grab there, did downgrade about 15 points, so a few people will be a little bit disappointed about that. But, it just goes to show you in the Sharks game how much these two guys dominated with that gap between Supercoach points back to Will Kennedy. I think a lot of players sort of in Supercoach teams from this game.
I've floated Mulatalo as a smoky in my pod last week and Ramian, but it was a nice pickup. I think 600 odd people brought him in. You would have grabbed that 125. That's what you have to do in Supercoach sometimes. You've got to find these under the radar ones, and he's a good finisher, and that's a nice edge out there. Cronulla's improved.
And they're friendly in the draw, mate. Like we speak about how Cronulla are friendly draw to start the season. Other than running into Melbourne now, they're friendly for the next few weeks as well. So,
nice pickup.
Manly, I think, will be a little bit tougher than people think. I know Cronulla at the moment about $1.30, Manly about $4. I think it will be a little bit tougher than that. But, with the form that they're in and that sort of that combination, I think the only bad part is the Saturday to Thursday backup. That 5-day backup after such a tough game, I think might go against the Sharkies. But, we'll see. We'll see.
Hines, it wasn't a huge score from Hines. He's got a couple of low ones in there now. I don't think it's panic stations. I think he's someone I'd like to finish the year with. He was up against his old team as well, and it is the Melbourne Storm, so it's half expected. Any panic, you reckon, on Hines?
Mate, look, I want to keep him, and the reason I want to keep him is I just think he is that second half behind Cleary. I definitely think as much as when you've got a second row centre wing combination, I think the highest scoring potential is in the fullback position as much as it would be the second row position. Hence why I think it's more important to have Hines as a half rather than a fullback. And I think, like this week, I've gone with, as I say, Cleary and Hines in the halves, and I've got Teddy and Pappy at fullback. So I've sort of kept that for throwing Munster at 5'8", and I'm pretty actually happy with my spine so far. Grant in the 9. I'm hoping to turn Randall into Appy in the next couple of weeks. I just think that those are the money positions this year. And Hines, I think, he's just a keeper. I think he's allowed one or two poor games because I think there will be games that he destroys teams in the future.
Yeah, I'd probably just give maybe don't straight captain him, for the next little while until you see a big one from him. We'll obviously in teams we'll see it, but there was an injury to Hamlin Ueli and Finucane, so I think McInnes has been named to start at lock, and he's bottomed out.
Yeah, 472k, mate. I think he's break even this week after a decent week last week of 70 odd. This week is 38. So
get him instead of Appy.
What's that? Sorry.
You can get him instead of Appy.
Look, I'd thought about it pre-season. I haven't liked what I've seen so far from McInnes. I think he's yet to establish, and probably rightly so, he's been on the bench. He's playing different positions. I think he's yet to establish what his actual role is there at Cronulla. I think with Hamlin Ueli out for 12 weeks, maybe that becomes a little bit more certain for him. if he starts in that lock role and, makes 60 tackles. But I just want to sort of stay. Put it this way. I know Cam McInnes can throw in an 80, but I know Appy Coruscant can throw in a 120. So
yeah, I'll be interested to see McInnes in his minutes this week and see how he goes.
Pappenhausen probably the only thing.
Yeah, probably. Pappenhausen rolled his ankle. I think he's been named this week, but he was a high captained, and everyone was hoping for 100, but 60 odd. And Josh King had his worst game of the year. I heard you're selling. I want to probably wait for one more week and hopefully turn him into either Lolo or IPAP, in the front row. But that's that game.
Yep.
IPAP, I think the score probably didn't really.
I love him.
I think the score didn't really show how close the game was. They got away with it a little bit at the end, but it was a nice.
And regardless of that, mate, I think it was just the quality of football. Cronulla completed 93% or 94% of their sets. Melbourne Storm only made 4 errors, I think. Cronulla 2 for the game. This was just a game that was basically 2 top teams in the comp. I think I've said it to a few mates this week. Really, this comp has turned into a top 8 versus a bottom 8. The top 6 to 8 teams have distanced themselves so far from the ones below it. And I think Cronulla's probably joined that top 5 or 6 echelon now this year with what they're doing. You've really got to look each week. And I know, obviously, we speak about the West Tigers beating the Eels, but I think that the reason that identifies such, Craig Bellamy's and your Trent Robinsons and your Clearys about why these guys are such good coaches is because they can anticipate those games where maybe their team doesn't play the best, but they still find a way to win. And I don't think Brad Arthur did that on the weekend. So I think, yes, the Eels are probably in there in that top sort of echelon of teams. Occasionally you're going to see maybe an upset, but I just think that, the top 5 or 6 teams are so far ahead. From a Supercoach point of view, it means you've got to have these guys because the attacking stats are just – they're there. I know we're talking about the 6 again rule sort of slowing it down a little bit and that change. This is starting to get a little bit more pacey like last year.
Yeah.
What do we got next? Oh, look, I watched this game.
Chooks.
I was just a little bit bored the whole way.
Yeah, I mean, you probably thought that the Chooks were a heck of a lot stronger than the Warriors. A bit clunky, the old Chooks. Teddy, people who have been patiently holding Teddy, he's averaging 50s. Teddy's averaging 50. So he's bleeding cash. He's got the big, huge BE. I'm getting rid of him, but I'm going to be a little bit scared. I'm going to be scared about it. Sam Walker, those people who stuck with Sam Walker would have been a nice payoff. He's been 80s the last couple of weeks, and he looks like they're sort of warming up how to use him in the 6. He looked pretty good. Tupu's rock solid. Nothing else really there. Angus Crichton started, did he, or he played big minutes? I know he's been named to start this week. Have you got any interest in Angus? 49, and he played, I think, nearly the 80 last week.
Mate, he's just a fallen gun. If we talk about Tedesco's fall from grace, Angus's has been 5 times worse. I mean, here's a bloke who just was completely dominant the last few years as the second row in the game. Really, he was just the most impressive second row. Whether it was, line running, ball running, whatever it was, he just looked the most professional player out there. And then to get sort of dumped, start the season off so poorly. And this is where you can see the true reflection from Supercoach ability and points into performances on the field for their team. Angus Crichton is the kind of player that just represents effort on the field, equaling Supercoach points, in his bank. And he just hasn't been there. So, mate, I'm completely shocked.
I don't know if he's going to get his Origin spot. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he's going to get picked for Origin. I think the Roosters play around 13. So in another world, that would seem like he'd be the best person you could possibly have. He's like a great player for around 13.
I still think he gets his origin spot. I do.
You reckon?
I
don't know.
Him, Cam Murray, I think they're going to still, but like Cam Murray's obviously in good form. Even at Jake Turbo. Still think he finds his way in his origin team. I just think there's the old boys kind of mentality.
Frizzell's been good. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm going to tip that he's got to be, maybe a chance of not making it. But, if you're going to grab him, I think he's bottomed out now and you'd have to be taking a punt on him. But you look at that game, outside of those top two scorers, from each team, it was a very low-scoring Supercoach game.
Yeah, it wasn't friendly at all.
Yeah, I'm not convinced on the Chooks. I know that they'll warm up mid-season and Robbo gets some times he's run.
I think that's what I'm feeling, mate, is I think the potential's there without even pressing anywhere near that yet. I think this is a team that can definitely get to that point where in the next 3 to 4 weeks, maybe around 9 or 10, throwing a few 50-point performances 2 or 3 weeks in a row. I'm waiting for the blow-up, mate, because all these players in this team have got it. So,
yep. Well, knowing my luck, it'll be this week when I sell Teddy.
True. Don't sell Teddy, mate. Hashtag don't sell Teddy. Next game, folks. 21-16's rounded out the round. No, it didn't round out the round. This rounded out the Sunday.
Yeah.
Kalen Ponga playing like he's realised he needs to fucking play football to get paid.
I mean, he played like how he should be playing every bloody game as the marquee $1 million man. But if he plays like that every week...
The problem is, we look at Supercoach scores, the Dragons still won the game.
Yep.
Ponga was brilliant. Ponga was where he needed to be. As you say, Ados, every single week you want to see this level. It wasn't good enough to win the game. Why?
Yeah. I mean, the Dragons, at the gong, they find a way.
I've said it in previous episodes. Newcastle have looked better this year when Ponga's not there.
Well,
they look to me. They look to me like a bottom 14.
They started, obviously Brendan's not here with us tonight. He had such belief at the start of the year. They beat the Roosters.
They'll play well.
That first 2 weeks, they were fantastic. They went down 18-0 to Cronulla, but it was arguably Cronulla's best game of the year. They played brilliant without putting a team away. They still looked half decent. Now they've just been beat by fucking St. George. Fuck.
Yeah. It's hard to get a read on both of these teams.
Talk about fucking red arrows on the slide. The Newcastle Knights are killing themselves.
Brent Hunt's having a pretty reasonable year. That Max Fee guy, look at him. He looks a good footballer. But he's too expensive. Stooley looked great in that game. I thought I wasn't looking at the Supercoach scores because I didn't have anyone in my 17. I thought he'd be on 100, but 79 wasn't a bad score. Frizz is having a good year. Even though, what do you think of Lomax jumping on his back?
Mate, fucking bit of fun. And I liked what Clem did after the game and fucking a finger in the face. That was good. That basically, that just summed it up. It doesn't have to go any further than that, but you basically had a young cub being a dickhead, and then the old dog afterwards going after him, say, "Get your fucking head in the line." I didn't mind it. Leave it at that. That's enough. That was good. But did Lomax Hill learn? I mean, and Clem did his job and stood up for his boy. So I'm happy.
What's
back in my game? That was a smack in the mouth. And even in today's game where punching is not allowed, I would have punched him.
Yeah,
if I was
miss.
What's with Clem taking his style guide from Brent Hampton this year, I noticed?
Mate, I tell you what, the big fucking bushy no beard on the face and all on the neck, and just that fucking, chuffs of fucking hair everywhere. Mate, yeah, it is.
He had a good game, Clem.
He did. He had his best Supercoach game in fucking over a year. So,
I mean, is this your draft team, Bogues? You got Bradman Best in there as well. I saw that you had
to the draft scores that I went shit this week.
I tell you what, though, Best that try that he put on for Kalen Ponga, I think it was maybe to get to 16 all. After they'd made a break on the right-hand side, they shifted to the left. Best put the afterburners on. He put Lomax on the ground. He just looks like for such a short and stocky bloke. I mean, when I say short, he's probably still 6 foot tall, but I'm a fucking giant. As Bogan's even bigger. But he just moves.
He had more speed than I thought. Like he just being so nuggety. I just didn't think he had the speed on him.
Killed him last few seasons. Just those injuries that you don't want to see. They take him out to 3 or 4 or 8 weeks. Once this guy gets on the park and gets the chances, provided the drug testers don't come around, he's.
You reckon there's a bit of juice there?
Yeah, but there you go.
Oh, your mic's off, King. I don't know what's happened there. We've lost your audio.
Huh?
Oh no, yeah.
Start swearing, I can hear you.
Fucking, I don't know what's going on. I've got a brand new potato. But anyway.
I tipped the Dragons in this one. Did you tip the Knights?
I tipped the Dragons.
I knew that.
Yeah.
It was a shit game.
You remember the years where Canberra couldn't get beat by the Dragons, or the Dragons couldn't beat them?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few Dragons friends.
Sort of who was it? Like, you guys had the wood on them, didn't you, for like 10 years straight? Like, the Dragons were probably having a bit of a better patch back then. This was just one of those games that I just thought, the Dragons, this time of the season, the Knights have started off well. They're on the downslide. I just thought it'd be what it was, and that was why I tipped the Dragons. I thought they were due.
Yeah.
And that's it. I know.
Oh, what a game. Easter Monday.
I think Benny disappeared from the chat after the intro.
What a sook. Oh, who'd be an Eels fan, eh? Like,
he is fucking soft.
And King mentioned what did Parramatta do to upset Bogan? For a start, I had Mitchell Moses in my team. I don't anymore. He is gone.
72 is not bad. I mean, but he was on 45 after 20 minutes or something, wasn't he?
But secondly, that intro that I did is just because someone, a butthurt Parramatta fan, had put all of those tweets into one thread, and I was just reading it and laughing my ass off, and then I thought, you know what, I should just record this and chuck it in at the start. So.
Yeah,
so not shitting on Parramatta too much, but I tell you what, those Para fans, they're very passionate and they're very easy to fucking troll.
I'll tell you one thing though, as much as Para went down from a Supercoach point of view, not too many Para fans were disappointed. You know, as much as they didn't go large as the 100 pluses that people thought, Mitch Moses and Dylan Brown on that sort of 72 and 70, you know, they were solid enough scores where you could accept what they got. You know, you weren't absolutely happy, but you can never be devastated with a 70-point score for any player in Supercoach. IPAP the same.
When you're versing like Cleary captain as you are, I want IPAP so bad in my team.
Honestly, him and Defifi starting the season with both those guys, I'm just blessed, mate. That's definitely what's kept me up. Like I said, I've got Grant now. I've got Payne Haas, I've got Defifi, I've got IPAP, I've got Nico and
got all the must-haves
this week. Munster at 5'8", and then Teddy and Pappy. Like, just the core of my team. I know come Origin time is going to fucking hurt. And trying to get a team together for that bye week round 1 in round 13, it's going to be very strange.
Yeah, IPAP's 700K. He's so expensive, but if you started the year with him saying he wasn't going to, people who've had faith that he wasn't going to, drop from last year, he's been sensational.
What else, mate?
That's it for the games. Ready to go on to this week's?
Yep.
Kicking it off on a Thursday night.
Cooler?
He wasn't named. He's in the 19, I think. So, they favoured Tupeludo. I think mainly because they probably don't want to put Cooler on the wing. And I think his best chance of being in there was if Garrick went back to the wing and he took over fullback. So, that's what happens when you bring someone in early.
For me to not go the Teddy to Cleary route, I had to go Cleary, Dylan Walker, and a cheapie. So I either had Cooler or Isaiah Tuss. Mate, they've both been fucking dropped. I'm dirty.
Yeah, well, my centre wing is Vialia, Cooler, and Billy Smith on the reserves. So I'm skint as in the reserves on centre wing. This should be a good game. I think it'll be a danger game. I think, coming off the back of the Melbourne game, which was pretty hard fought and a short turnaround, I think the Seagulls are improving.
Seagulls are a huge go in this. I can just see Cronulla not bouncing back. So, yeah.
Good to see Talakai, even though Ikavalu's back, Talakai holds his centre wing spot. Good on your Daily Telegraph, not giving him duel. He played 2 games before the round 6, named in centre wing, and he's held there for the next 2 weeks. So he's played 4 games in a row in centres, and you can't put him down in centre because they're a bunch of fuckers.
Really?
Fuck you.
Would
have helped me out a great deal this week. Would have helped me out a great deal this week, being able to bring him down to centre.
Keep going.
I would not captain, anyone really from this game. You could take a tickle on a bounce back for Hines for a VC, but it's going to be a nice game. That's at Shark Park, isn't it? Obviously, because they're on the left. I think I'll probably just favour the Sharks in this one because of home.
Mate, I reckon DCE is going to step up and have a huge game in this one. I think he definitely needs to lead this team. They're starting to sort of lose their way a little bit. Obviously, Olakatu, we saw bad cramps last week. He'll be in there. Davey's been okay. I just think everything around their attack, whoever player feeds off it, is going to feed off Cherry Evans, whether it's a kick, whether it's a pass, a cut-out pass, whether it's a line break off him. I just think he represents so much in this team. And I think we're starting to get the time of the season where DCE is worth having a look at.
Yeah, but it's not a bottom 4 team, and it's not a brookie. So you won't see
anything
from DCE.
Cronulla don't beat Manly too often, mate. They're just one of those teams, mate. We speak about the Raiders and the Dragons back then. This is still a thing. Cronulla not beating Manly too often, so...
Yeah, they were. I haven't minded the Seagulls. I think they've been playing pretty well with that, Tommy.
But I will say,
should be a good one.
VC chip, got to stay in the pocket. You got to leave Nico alone on this one, guys. I don't think he's worth going. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Agree. All right, well, move on. I'll go to the next one. Broncos versus the Dogs.
I mentioned
this will be.
I mentioned games where if you're at the pub, this is the one to go play pool.
Yeah, this is a go to the pub game for sure. You had that injury to Tessie. I was hoping it was going to be Cobbo that goes to fullback, but they're bringing in Tamari Martin. It's a nice thing to see Tamari back in the game after that brain bleed stuff. And I just would have thought they worry about Cobbo having the legs to play fullback, but you're going to bring in Tamari Martin, who's been out of the game for years and has been playing 6 in the Reggies. I just think it's weird. Hopefully Cobbo gets some minutes at fullback. I would be very happy to play Stags in this game. I think it's a good matchup for Stags to continue with his good form. He might even be a sneaky VC if you wanted to go early games on a VC, but I agree with you, Bogues. I think it's a go to the pub on this one. It's not going to be the best viewing in the world.
What time is this one? How is this an 8 o'clock game on a Friday fucking night?
Because it's
Thursday.
And there's 2 games on Monday.
Oh, this is atrocious. Fuck.
Yep.
I've got to find something else to do.
Well, there you go. Haas is back, which is good. I sat him last week, and I missed him in my scores. Well, I don't know. I probably even maybe play Cobbo this week. I haven't been keen to play Cobbo, but if you're ever going to play him, the Dogs is a matchup where you can.
Yeah, fair enough. I happily got rid of him. I never had Stags, but I had Cobbo from the start. I think I kept him 4, maybe 5 weeks. Oh, the nightmare was bad.
I've never been able to get rid of him, and now with my reserves, I'm being forced to play him. Although I'm going to probably bring in Billy Smith as one of my trades, so maybe Suwali. Maybe I can play him instead.
Next game, folks. Saturday, 5:30 game at QCBS Stadium. Cowboys up against the Titan Queensland clash. Look, both teams in solid form for Supercoaches. This is something we'll definitely be interested in. A lot of people with a few cheapies, a lot of people with a few cash cows, and anyone who's obviously got David Fifita has been celebrating the last couple of weeks. Let's hope that form can continue. Let's hope he puts one of these young fellas on his ass a couple of times in the second row he's opposing. And look, 140 this week for sure, isn't it, mate?
I hope he goes below 60, so I don't feel like a fucknut selling him so much. So it should be a good game. I think they're about evenly matched. I watched the Cowboys live last week, and they looked better to me. They're a lot more in-game for the full 80 minutes. Lolo's looking great. I know a lot of people are bringing in Lukey after his 90 last week. I don't mind the matchup for him. I'm selling Furmore. Yeah. So he'll probably go well. He just relies on attack so much.
I've said it from 2 weeks ago when he got COVID. I don't think he's bounced back. I had COVID myself for a week. I was just sort of, had the cold, blah, blah, blah. But the 4 or 5 weeks afterwards, it took me to get my lungs back and to get my, I think he's been affected by that. I think he will bounce back. But my problem is in the next 3 or 4 weeks, if he doesn't perform and keeps throwing in 30s, he's going to drop back under that 400 mark pretty quickly. And I want to get the cash out of him now. So, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's an important thing to say because when you make money on guys that you don't intend to hold for the whole year, you feel compelled to sell them when they've peaked so that you take advantage of the money they've made. And he's just a tick under 500K, so you can do something really good in your team with his money. So, yeah, he's probably one of the candidates if you're looking for people to sell this week.
Mate, the way I look at it is right now, if I was to put in a draft comp, switching, Nathan Cleary, Dylan Walker, and Cooler for Josh King, Brad Schneider, and Bo Firma. I'm picking Cleary side every day of the week. It's just a no-brainer. So I'm happy to take the chance to say I've made the cash that I wanted to. This guy's done his job. I'm going to get rid of him. Would I love to keep him for round 13 as well? Yeah, I would. But right now, the cash that he's made, getting it to Cleary means so much more than that. So, sometimes these are the awkward decisions you've got to make in Supercoach.
Yep.
And what do we get after this, folks? Tigers up against the Bunnies. Look, this is always a tough game. Tigers do put up this bit of effort. Let's hope they're not too flat from, obviously, yesterday's fantastic, play against the Eels. And let's hope this Brooks and Hastings combination can continue. I'm really dirty that I had to get rid of Hastings, mate. I like him. I'm whether it's going to turn into Supercoach points or not, I'm not too sure. But I like watching this kid play football.
90 touches. He had 90 touches in that game.
Even before he got suspended, he was some of those Tigers games. It was like he was the only fucking player having a go.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. He in the 7, he's a great. You see that kick he did for the Nofo try? It was sensational.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and the field goal, he puts his hand up and he wants the ball. He's barking orders everywhere. If you were one of those ones that stuck with him while he was suspended, I've had a few questions going. Should I downgrade blah? To Hastings? I don't think it's the worst because I think that Tigers have hung their hat on him at 7 and handling the ball a lot. It'd be perfect because towards the end of last game he was kicking goals because Luke Brooks is shite at goal kicking. So that'd be a little bonus. Not that they'll probably score lots of tries, but that would be an extra bonus. this could be a really good VC for Cookie, I reckon, because I think they might have spent themselves a bit in that game against the Eels, and I think this is a game that South might turn it on.
Oh, look, I don't doubt that. I think their middle, Twale's good, Twale's solid, and I think he can probably handle that middle a little bit better. Musgrove weak, I'm not too sure. Yeah, obviously he's there to start the game well, but you're right, mate. Cookie could find a lot of gaps up the middle of this West Tigers defence. I think absolutely a VCC option, Damien Cook this week. I think he could replicate the 120 we saw last week. So, yeah.
Yep.
Next game, Bogues, what do we got? Sunday, 24th of April, 2 p.m. game. I love Sunday footy in the afternoon. I fucking hate these 6:30 matches. Give me 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday any day of the week. It just feels more Australian. Fuck. Anyway.
Yep. Should be a good one. The Eels will be sporting after losing last week. That's the problem with the Eels. At the start of the game, all the interviews are like, we've got to be real clinical today. We're going to do a number on them. That's the way they played, arrogantly and all for themselves. Like they all wanted to be on the highlight reels. They'll get down and dirty, and I think that spells trouble for the Knights, because I think the Eels are going to be.
I hope so. I'm just worried that the Eels won't snap out of that phase, mate. I'm thinking that maybe they stay in that phase for the Knights, thinking, Newcastle on the downer, and maybe we can get away with an easy one here to bounce back.
I don't think so. I think they're in the top 4. They're going to be short coaches riding them hard. They've had a real rough old injury-plagued backline, the Eels. They've gone and brought in Hayes Perham now on the wing, and Penasini's back to the wing. That's a bit of a spew because he looked good on the wing. He did
look really good on that left-hand side, actually, Penasini. He, that kick back inside that he had, I think it was a forced dropout out of it. Just, he looked like he had so much more creativity on the left. Whether it was a centre or a wing thing, I'm not too sure. On the right side, he just looks a little bit lost. He doesn't look like he combines well with Moses. He doesn't look like he combines well with
because they never go right, really.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, with that score, he's going to be there. He's sort of got a 40 in him. He's meat and potatoes in the centres. Let's see what happens with Ponga if he can put 2 games back to back, at home for the fans.
Yeah, look, Clune back into the half position after missing last week. Phoenix Crossland came into the team. Chris Randall had a huge game, obviously, last week, but did see 80 minutes, 67 points for the number 9, who lost anyone on the bench to replace him. Phoenix Crossland goes back to the 14 this week, so don't expect that to be as kind this week. He is still a reserve option if you're looking for that 40 to 50 points to round out your team for the week, though. So, mate, the Knights, let's see Ponga. Maybe he goes back to back. I think this is probably one of the better lineups they can have, and it just didn't perform that well last week.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I just don't know. I mean, Clune has been pretty good for them, just straightening up their attack and stuff, and we'll see how he goes. I thought he did an MCL, but that is an interesting point you make. I was, I played Ilias last week, and I should have looked at that bench for the Knights and knew that Crossland was starting, and I would have reserved Randall playing 80. I don't know if you can lock him in, with him playing with Crossland on the bench, but if you do want, if your alternative is an Ilias, take a safe 40
I think that if you know that Randall's getting 80, you're playing him because he will make 50, 55 tackles. And in Supercoach, doesn't matter whether it's last year, this year, any other year, any bench player that's given you 50 has done their job for your Supercoach team. So, if there's any sort of late changes this game, if maybe Crossland drops out or Clune drops out, whatever it may be, don't hesitate to throw that final hour on Randall if he's going to get 80 with whatever the bench becomes. Next game, folks.
They sold Barnett the Knights off to the Warriors.
When's that happening? End of the year?
End of this year, yeah.
Mate, look at those beautiful logos. They are 2 sexy fucking logos there on that screen, mate. Old school Vikings logo. And look, I've got to say, I'm a big fan of the fucking Penrith Panthers logo that Bogan's put up.
That's because the modern logos for these 2 clubs are fucking shit.
We've fucking heard it before, you ranting, whinging fucking bastard. You fucking hate
I've actually got some gear. I've
Bring
got some
back
gear with
your
the old
Sydney Bears.
logo on.
Yeah, bring back the Bears. They've hardly changed their fucking logo. So.
That's because they haven't had to, mate, or they couldn't afford a
Haven't
graphic
had
artist
to
to
make any
change it
merch.
for.
Yeah, not short of coin these days, backed by the North fucking Leagues Club, but yeah.
True.
This game is going to be an absolute bloody smash up. Smash up.
Smash up, mate.
What's
the prediction?
Yeah. Well, at home, I think it's going to be. I can't see the Panthers not putting on 30-plus points. I think the Raiders have got a bit of an issue with their attack. I'm going to say 40-10, and I think Cleary is the captain of the week.
There you go. It does look good, doesn't it? It really does. I don't think. Look, I think the teams that we've seen give trouble to good halves are, for maybe 60 minutes out of the 80 minutes they cram in. Their second rower slams in. Their centre follows him in, and they really shut down that half and that second row play. I don't think Canberra have got the team to do that for, to nullify what Cleary can offer and what he can do. Tomoko, Valemei. Look, Valemei, pressure on the right-hand side, but obviously that's on Luai's side, which is a little bit more of a concern. Maybe that gives even Cleary more ball. Like, it's just, it is a very, very friendly matchup, mate. And I hate to say it, but the Green Machine, mate, they may be going home this week. Very, very disappointed from the foot of the mountains.
I think so. I think they dropped last week's game. They'll probably get a rocket up in this week, but I just don't think they've got enough to run with it. The thing that's glaring to me about the Raiders this year is you look at Papali'i, Starling, Tuppeny, CHN. I think Whitehead's over the hill a little bit, but you throw Adam Elliott up there. And Sutton, I think, that's a forward pack that you'd think be one of the best in the competition. But up until last week, none of our forwards have been running over 100 meters, And they keep dropping off their assignment on inside shoulder and stuff, and that's why they're getting scored against. Chance in the 14 as a dumb utility.
It just screams of Ricky getting desperate, mate. It really does.
Yeah, he's desperate. I like seeing the Englishman Harry Rushton in there and get a run. He's looked good in the Reggies, but that's the thing with Ricky. We have an abysmal game and lose terribly last week, and the changes are just stupid. Savage onto the wing, clocks into the 14, and he changes one forward. It's not the changes that need to be made in the team. And I think that this is going to be an absolute, annihilation.
Fair enough. Next game, Bogues. Monday, we've got traditional Anzac Day rivalry here with the Dragons and the Roosters. Mate, look, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't get rid of Teddy. I just kicked myself, mate. Look, I said it in the chat where I've looked at a couple of players like Stags and a few others that have started off the season slow. They've started off the season dropping balls and missing tackles or not quite making it through that line break you'd expect them to. And, I saw the light. I saw the upside with those players, and Stags the last couple of weeks has proven that. Teddy, I can't see it, mate. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. There's no cohesion. I feel like they're 4 to 5 weeks away from Teddy playing any good. But I still can't get rid of him.
Yeah. It's a very, very expensive 50 points.
I mean, it is.
Got there. King.
Mate. A very expensive wife I've got as well, mate. She's ugly as fuck.
Look, he's looked a little old and a little slow, and none of it's coming off. Like, he was always like chiming up the middle, for those plays, when they he's always there for an offload and chiming up the middle. And I saw him, way behind that. He wasn't in the middle of the night. He's not following the ruck, and in there for sort of offloads and stuff. And you see him chiming into the back line because there's Walker there now, so he's not sort of doing those sweep plays where he's the final pass, to the winger. So I don't know. I think they're just all at sea with Cleary and Walker. What he does, what's he going to do in attack? And even Manu's roaming like a fullback. So I don't know. It's just, I just wait to see Teddy say at the end of the game, I had a shit game, but he's not. He's like, I had a pretty good game.
But I'm not going out to smoke. Yeah. I
don't know. I'm selling him because I'm bringing in Cleary, and I can't see Teddy outscoring Cleary. Sometimes in Supercoach you've got to make these ballsy moves, and I'm going to hold Dylan Brown instead of Tedesco. I could sell one of those and get in Cleary, but I'm not keeping Teddy when he's averaging 50.
Do I have to?
Do
I have to turn your camera off?
Murphy's Law.
No, mate, no, just a cigarette. Oh, look at this big chair I bought. I tell you what, I went out to a party the other day with the missus, right? Everyone got fucking COVID from it. But you're supposed to take your own chairs, and I forgot to. So I went to Bunnings and I spent $400 on this fucking outdoor chair just to take it to a fucking party. But anyway, there you go.
Could have bought a plastic chair, but you went and bought the big one for $400.
Don't go in halves, this fella.
Look, they come off a win last week, haven't they? Both narrowly, but they're a little bit underwhelming, both of them. So it'll be an interesting watch to see how they go this week. Not a game that excites me a whole lot, but there's definitely, there's a lot of Supercoach owned players in there, particularly from the Roosters. There's going to be people who, waiting for that Teddy to turn the corner. There's people who own Manu and got a low score from him last week that are hoping he bounces back because he just had 2 tons in a row and before this last game that was a rubbish one. So a lot to look at in the game Supercoach wise, but, we'll wait and see, won't we?
And then the last game on the Monday, Boats.
Nice matchup here for the Melbourne Storm. If you're not going to go and you don't own Cleary, there's some captain options in this game. That's for sure. Pappenhausen, it's good to see that he was named. I saw those pictures of his ankle. Looked a bit swollen from the rolled ankle last week. But Pappenhausen, Harry Grant, the Mad Dog, Jerome Hughes, take your pick. I think there's some captain options in here.
I mean, at any one stage, this team can put 50 on a team, and any of that back line can score 3 tries. Like, it's just, you just can't have them all. I saw in that couple of weeks ago, we had someone with the, full Cronulla side as their Supercoach team who won a head-to-head. This is that team as well. This is that team where you can be solid enough that 3 of them can score 150. It's just which 3 do you get? They've got such strike all across the park. But, yeah.
Yep.
It's
Mad Dog traditionally plays rubbish against the easy matchups and turns up for the hard ones. So it'll be interesting to see whether he still wants to, put out some feelers to all the clubs in the NRL for that big contract, and hopefully he can keep it going. But it's lots of captain options in there. If you weren't a Cleary owner, I think that Pappenhausen could be a good shout in this one. Plenty of goals, I reckon. Melbourne's going to do a number on them.
Josh Curran.
They haven't been the worst, though, the Warriors.
Joshy Curran, he just doesn't stay quiet. I want him to throw in a few 50s here or there, and he just doesn't do it.
He's good. He's got Supercoach sort of attributes, player, hasn't he? Yep. He's one that I probably and ahhed over at the start of the season. Never got him in, and I've been in a few head-to-heads with people, and they've been trash talking me.
Like I said from the start of the season, I went Lucy Leilua purely because he was $70K cheaper, and it fitted in with my team. If I could have had this guy ahead of Lucy, I would have had him in there, and he'd still be in my team. I wouldn't even think twice about him being out of the team. But really, really solid season so far from Curran. A couple of injury worries last week. He went off with a knee injury after about 20 minutes, but 10 minutes later he's back on the field. And then saw him on forward.
Yeah. He rode it off on the bike, and he throws himself into bloody everything. So those are the kind of players that you want, ones that are just got their little digits into everything, which he has. I think Melbourne are going to be strong favourites. That looks like it's going to be at Amy Park. They play really well there.
Looks like it's going to be at Amy Park. It fucking is at Amy Park.
I can't see anything. Oh, yeah, it's up the top right. Sorry about that. Didn't look at it. Yeah, well, I think Melbourne's going to smash them. I think you got lots of captain options in there. Josh King back to 13 this week. He's getting close to sellable, but his BE is 40-something, I think. You could probably wait one more week if you want, and he won't lose too much money if
31 last week. I know there were circumstances behind it, but at any stage I can feel Belly bringing on Smith to start and just needing to power over a team like the Warriors from the start in their forward pack. So, I don't know. I don't like his security at the moment. I'm feeling like you're right. There is one more week you can probably throw into him. But I think he's a sell. We've made money out of him. He's done well. Get rid of my namesake. He's done.
All right. Well, we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully he plays 65 and gets a try.
Good on him if he does.
I need to play him for one more week.
There was a comment on last week's VOD where they went, Josh King, he's a hard worker and he's brought him in as a cheapie. He looks like you'll keep him for the rest of the year. And I said, Josh King's a lazy shit who pikes on his own show.
Only for BJonGameDay, mate. In every other aspect of his life, I am a hard worker. Yeah.
That is the game.
Oh, it's the games.
We're on to the leagues. So just let me bring this up. My mouse wants to fucking work. Oh,
before we get to that, mate, thanks to all the boys who've joined in the viewing again this week. Any newcomers to the stream, get a wrench. Get a spanner.
Yeah, I already given a few out.
Give us a subscribe. Well, I think 560 we're at, so we're a long way from the 1,000 that I'd hoped for by the round 8, which I think is next week. But anyway.
Oh, hold on, I got to give out a wrench. But Blake with its bully got 1453 this week.
53. It's a bloody ripping score.
How many?
1453.
That would have been top 10 for sure. I think, 1498 was the top score? Good on him, mate. Well done, Blake.
He was followed by Calabrese FC, Luke. He got a 1388. Yep. Big Ted.
Big Teddy.
Nice.
Big Ted with a 1355.
He was asking.
So,
mate, I thought I was going solid. Don't get me wrong, I did get green arrows. I went up from, I think, 2,300 to 1,500, but I had Big Ted in one of the head-to-heads, and I thought I was going good, and he had one less player than me, and he was 90 points in front of me, and straight Cleary.
He's in 223rd overall. He's having a ripping
shout out
year.
to Big Ted. Hopefully we can get you back
and
on the show
actually,
at some
we'll
stage.
talk about Big Ted before we go on. He did actually, just prior to the show, send me a bit of his strategy with wanted to use all trades early on, really to set up his team, and obviously that's a reflection in his overall rank because I think he started off about 60,000. And again, there's arguments 2 or 4, 4 against basically using all your trades and when you use them throughout the season. But that really reflects when you do go hard at the start of the season where you can achieve. But mate, Big Ted, the whole now, mate.
Yeah, if you use it, you want to be in the top couple of hundred, which is what he is. Mate. So well done.
Tinks Torpies Guy, he got a 1351, and rounding out the top.
Nice.
Rounding out the top 5 is Philawara Jai, and he got a 1350. So some big scores out there this week.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm glad I played Philawara in the head-to-head last week because last week he was shit house.
Well, yeah, he's 43,000th overall, so I think that was his first good week, probably.
So speaking of overall, it's Supercoach Vaughan. He's sitting in 54th. Zane with
champion.
the Pelicans, and he's in 77. So we've got a couple in the top 100. So it's just,
boys, keep trending upwards.
Kuma Cox, Finn, he's just inside the 150, and then Ted in 4th, and 220. 223. And Bean Sexton, Trent.
Name.
Oh, I like
Good
it.
name.
Very good name.
Well done.
Breno, I like
Bean
it, mate.
Sexton.
He's sitting in 270th position overall.
Yes. Very good.
Nice.
All right, what do we got next, Bogues? The
BJ on Game Day. Bogan's Cup. So, so Troy with the Humdinger Dolphins, he got a 13.49. Troy, if you're not in the group, you should join, mate. You would have been in the top 10.
There you go.
But
well, mate,
meet
flash screen there every week.
Sorry.
I said the group code flashes across the screen there every week.
It's on the screen right now. 987311. It's not too late to join. Meet to meet Hamish with a 13.38. Barber's White Lines, Michael with a 12.81. The Manor Party, not the usual manor, but the Manor Party, Keegan with a 12.75. And Harley with Chops with a 12.60.
771 overall. Well done, Harley. Very good start to the season, mate. Keep it going.
On to the BJ Royal Rumble, the All In.
This league's struggling a little bit.
It is.
This week was average, but overall it's been good.
It's the I've accidentally put the overall. Whoops. Yeah,
overall it's been good.
Because I said 11.63, but it looks like Cooper with oh no, sorry. I feel Gould Damon with a 12.88 is the highest score there for the week. But overall, it's Chris with bye. Sorry about that.
Matty Buckman. Anyone check out the Triple SC podcast that Matty launched last week?
Oh, is that who Triple SC was in the chat? Because I was like, I saw the name change on the YouTube. Well, I saw the name come up with a wrench, and it's like I don't remember giving them mod. But okay.
And then the final, the BJonGameDay Cup, mate.
The BJonGameDay Cup. Big Ted,
obviously top score.
Big
Agony. I tell you what, Dino Peters. Agony defeat. You've been terrible this season, son. It's about time you fucking picked it up. Obviously, we've been talking about Wayno with Hell's Greenies. He struggled this year. You can see there from the overall position, you've had a cracking week and you still only moved up to 55,000. So, Dino, plenty of places to go there, mate.
Tommy Turbo's Tool, the 13.24. That's Trent.
Right.
Marty, Malevolence Inc., 12.53. And
Still beating you overall, Marty, so up yours, you fuck.
Oh, we love a little bit of love in the BJ group.
And Matthew with Major Pain with a 12.51. Now, I'm noticing, King, you're sitting currently just outside of the top 1,500. You reckon you're positioned for a charge at the moment?
Mate, like I say, I'm really, really happy with the team, mate. I've got everything solid. I've got a good plan coming up to buy round with sort of who I want to get in and where it's going to go to with cash cows. So, mate, I'm feeling it this year. I really am. I might have to bring in Bryce Cartwright this week, but
it was so shit last year. It's a big turnaround.
Better than last year. Last year was honestly the worst year I could have ever had. I just don't know where it all went wrong, but yeah, as I say, this year definitely came with a bit more care factor and a little bit more, attention to detail with players that I was sort of selected. Last year just wasn't my year, that's for sure.
Well, sorry,
it's good.
I'm gonna
keep it up.
You off.
Keep me off.
Yeah, get.
Hold on, just move down there.
Did I win the game? I didn't.
No, you didn't. You're doing well.
I did. Smash Kando.
You did smash Kando. Yeah. So Brent Hampton got up over the Shockmasters. Big Ted, he was defeated by Benny. Benny, who's on the charge. I had a draw with the Hell's Grannies. Wayno,
but
mate, check in. check in because your team was your team was down 2 players, and you still scored 730. If you were managing your team, you'd fucking smash everyone.
Yeah.
He had fucking Val Holmes sitting on the bench. But then had a draw with him. Great. I suppose I should be fucking glad just to get out of it with 1 point. But Shano, he got up over Cleary. And as mentioned earlier, Dr. K. Ando got absolutely smashed by Josh King.
He says draft sucks.
Oh.
Yeah, well, everyone, all losers all say that.
Right.
Which brings us to the ladder for the draft. With my draw, that puts Benny clear by 1 point.
Oh, at least and the Eels have won something.
Away after you started banging out the Eels at the start of the show. He's gone. We haven't heard from him all night.
Yeah, I think he spat the dummy when he saw that intro and left. He was one of the earlier commenters. But Benny's top of the fucking hill at the moment, followed by myself, then Clemmy, then fucking Kando, and Shane rounds out the top 5. But King is chasing him.
I'm slowly making ground. It's good.
Everyone's still in it. That being said, with Wayno's win against you last week, King, and his win against me this week, or his draw against me this week, he is off the bottom. So,
but I tell you what, ladies, look at that 4 score, 3,200. Everyone else around 4,000 or just over 4,000. Wayno, like Bogan says, mate, check in with us, buddy. Let us know how you're going.
Yep.
All right. That's it for another week.
That's it for the week.
Well, guys and girls, it has been a solid, quality hour and a half show. Adrian Delaney, mate, absolute pleasure to have you back again on the BJonGameDay show, mate. You are always welcome. It's great to have you on here. Great insight into Supercoach. Mate, SC by Adrianosaurus on Sunday nights after the round, mate?
Yeah, after the round. Haven't been sort of releasing them till Monday because now daylight savings is off. I record at the end of the game and it's bloody 10 p.m, which is not the best time to release the old pod. It is live on SoundCloud and Spotify and all them if you want to listen to it on the night, but I release them all the next morning on the socials.
Anyone who obviously in our feed on our YouTube channel, jump over to those platforms and give Adrianosaurus a like and a follow. Follow him every week. Obviously guest stars every week on that show. And some fantastic minds that we've seen in Supercoach. Plenty of guys who have finished top 100, top 500, and you've had the grand champion on as well, mate, I hear.
Yeah, Timmy's come on a few times. I've been a good chatter with Tim over the years on Supercoach. I like to think I had a little bit to play, not as much though. But we have some good guests on. So
all right, guys, thank you for joining us once again. BJonGameDay. Hopefully you will have your normal host on next week. Brent Hampton coming back. We will see you all next week with more Supercoach to be had. Thanks very much, guys.
I'm gonna play that para video again as an outro. So, good night, everyone. Intro. You want this one? Oh, by the way, the poll ended up 65% yes, so King is going to have to bring in Cardi. Good night, everyone.